So I'm going to start off this video by introducing myself for those who don't know me. My name is Caitlin. I've been a freelance professional makeup artist in Michigan and the Northern Ohio area for around 10 years. Some people aren't going to be really that thrilled that I'm telling this story, but I feel that it's important because this individual that I'm going to be talking about is starting over their business in another state under another name, and I feel it's very concerning. This is a situation and a person that I've been concerned about for several years now, and this is not the first time I've tried to do something about it. In fact, tried to do something about it just right from the start, and for whatever reason that just didn't happen. I definitely had a hard time getting people to listen to me about this situation. And I'd also like to preface this video by saying that I'm aware that some people won't be happy that I'm making it. And I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's legitimate career. I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life. But what I am doing is trying to warn relevant people, because I feel like this individual that I'm going to be discussing is a dangerous person. I'm going to do my best to edit out identifying locations, people who might not want to be in this video. But I am going to tell the story, and I am going to tell the truth of the matter, and if somebody doesn't like that, then I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. So for you to understand this story, I have to kind of explain a little bit of what I do as a makeup artist. And part of what I do as a makeup artist is get together with other artists occasionally at group events, photographers, models, videographers, all different types of people, and collaborate. And there's these type of events all over, not only like Michigan, but Ohio and other states. And they're often referred to as group shoots or collaboration shoots. And in general, these events are awesome. You meet all sorts of people. You get to do cool art, collaborate. It's great for people who don't have a lot of money to maybe pay a model or pay a photographer. You can just work together and come up with something that everyone likes. So at one of these events is where I met this photographer that I'm going to be talking about. And if you've gotten this far into the video and you know me, I bet you know who I'm going to talk about. And his name is Anthony Perlas. But you might know him as Anthony Tridentine. You might know him as Seroptics modeling agency. You might know him as Zet Images. You might know him as Tony Ghost. You might know him as Anthony Flux bodybuilder. You might know him under any number of names, because this man likes to change his identity a lot. And he likes to change what he does a lot. And he likes to change his location a lot, and I have some theories about why he does that, and I bet at the end of this video you might too. So I met this individual at one of these group events in early 2016, and I do have notes so that I can keep the timeline correct on this. And when I had first met him, he seemed normal, he seemed nice, but socially awkward. And that's not. Lots of people are socially awkward. I'm socially awkward. So that's not, necessarily a red flag for me. But as this person came around, I've got to say he had a weird vibe. I got a bad vibe from him, and I know people hate that expression, but there's just no other way to explain it. He just was odd. There was something off about him. But you can't just say, hey, I don't want this person around because I have a bad vibe. Things don't work that way. And I thought maybe maybe I was just being judgmental. Maybe he's just shy, socially awkward, and everyone should give him a chance, right? So as I'm interacting with this person, kind of the first red flag for me is one of the things I do at these shoots is I do the makeup in the dressing room. And oftentimes then I will help people with the zipper or lacing an outfit up, things like that. And I think it should go without saying that in a dressing room, photographers, A, shouldn't be coming in and out when people are getting dressed, and B, shouldn't be coming in and out with a camera. And in fact, that was, in general, strictly against the rules. So Anthony Perlas comes into the dressing room with a camera. Okay, that can happen. Accidents happen, right? And I say, you can't be in here with a camera. People are getting dressed, blah, blah, blah. Fine, he leaves, sorry. No big deal, no red flag there, right? No. Because he comes back about an hour later and he has his camera again in there. And I said, hey, you can't be in here with a camera. I just talked to you about this about an hour ago. And he says, oh, I just didn't know. I didn't have any idea. I'm new here. And I said, wait a minute. Do you not remember that you talked to me like an hour ago about this? And I told you this, so you did know. And he was just really weird about it. Like, he tried to play it off like we didn't already talk about that. So right then, I thought, maybe it's a little bit more than socially awkward. So as time goes on, I just really don't like the guy. He's weird. He gives off a weird vibe, but everybody else seems to like him. And then he starts claiming that he's a Victoria's Secret photographer. And now, he definitely has a level of skill and talent, and I'm not saying that he doesn't at any point in this video. He does have talent. But he's not a Victoria's Secret level photographer. And the models at these events, not to be offensive to anybody, are amateur models. They're not up at the level of Victoria's Secret and Vogue, which was another catalog that he was saying that he's shooting for. And he's advertising his shoots in this way that you are shooting this for Victoria's Secret. And you can't do that. That's not something that people do. You can't do that. And so I brought that up. He can't advertise himself in this way. This is false advertisement. They're not going to be in a Victoria's Secret publication or video, and he can't advertise this way. Well, I was just told that that's his problem. That's not something to be concerned about. Fine. So we're not concerned about that. But at this point, this guy had set off about 100 red flags just with this strange behavior. So I started looking into what type of photography exactly is he doing. And this is where the red flags come in. I don't know any other way to describe this. And of course, I'm going to insert photos because you have to see the photos and the screenshots to really get this story. He was taking pictures of women, young women, teenage women, in headdresses, in like rosaries, and he was calling it Catholic modeling, spiritual Catholic modeling, and he was kind of editing, photoshopping in quotes, weird quotes at the bottom of these photo sets with these veils, and it was all very fetishy. And it definitely wasn't in line with Catholicism at all. There's no, I don't think I should have to say to anybody, but there's no such thing as sexy Catholic modeling. That's not a thing anywhere for anyone. I mean, it's weird, right? So as I'm looking at the stuff, I'm like, this is really fucking weird. And so I bring it to people's attention. And I say, look, do these models know what this shoot is going to end up as when they're done? Like, do they understand that it's going to be some weird fetish Catholic modeling? And that is the point in which I was kind of told that I was maybe picking on him, being nosy, digging too deep, and that I was discriminating against him for this Catholic modeling, which in and of itself is absolutely ridiculous because I grew up Catholic. I went to catechism, you know, my whole life. I know what is not going to be acceptable, basically. And this isn't, never in Catholic school was somebody like, hey, do you want to do some sexy Catholic modeling? Because that's not a fucking thing. So at that point, I felt like I had needed to take a step back and just kind of see what this dude was doing, because I felt like I was going to get, not in trouble, but like people acted kind of like, oh, it's overreactionary, you're being mean, you just don't like him. And it wasn't about that. It was weird. There was something weird going on, and me not liking somebody isn't a reason why I'm ever gonna ask to like blacklist them from a community. There's a lot of people out there that I don't like, but I will work with without incident, or I won't work with them and let them do their thing. But this wasn't that. It wasn't just that I didn't like him. It was that there was something wrong with him. There was something going on with him, and so I looked into it further. And that's when I had started Googling his name, because when he had started showing up to these group events, he was a photographer, but he didn't really have any, other than a few random photo sets from where he was before, where he worked with before. And I wanted to know, who is this guy? Who really is this guy? So I Googled, and what I came up with was a call to warning from the Detroit Archdiocese, which is like the Catholic head honcho of Michigan, if you don't know what that is. That the dude was basically publicly excommunicated from the Catholic Church. Like, the entire faith excommunicated. Now, that isn't a normal thing that happens to people. In general, you don't get excommunicated unless you do something really fucking bad. And he was doing something bad. He was going within his congregation to recruit these girls, to sort of groom them into doing this weird Catholic modeling, which he had started calling the Latin Mass Society. And now Latin Mass is an old school Catholic thing where, well, basically it has nothing to do with people modeling in headscarves. It's very, very old school. It's not, there's not very many Latin masses going on currently, to my knowledge. And that it had nothing to do with modeling or what he was doing, but that's what he was calling it. and he was getting these girls to kind of take more and more provocative photos. And yes, the vast majority was over 18, to my knowledge, but I don't think anybody knows if all of them were. I mean, he was going into these congregations to get these young women to do this modeling, and then of course it would get more and more provocative, of course, nudity. And there's nothing wrong with nude photo sets of consenting adults, but I think it's a big difference of when you're going into a church congregation to recruit models to take provocative photos. That seems predatory to me, whether they're 18 or not. That doesn't seems very disingenuous, and I can understand why the church was so concerned. And then after I had found this call to warning from the Detroit Archdiocese, I have found a news article on kind of a Catholic news site by a man named Stephen Skojek, who I'm not sure if he's a priest or like a youth pastor or a youth leader. But he went very, very in depth about the whole Latin Mass and what Anthony had been doing to get excommunicated and to have this whole thing against him. And I thought, okay, finally. I have finally figured out how to get this guy out of here, because he's weird. And I thought, okay, maybe someone will finally listen to me and stop telling me I'm mean. And I'd like to say that happened. And some people did listen to me, and some people began gathering screenshots and kind of were like, yep, you know what, you're right. But a lot of people weren't. And a lot of people were still working with him. And a lot of people were still shooting with him. And a lot of young women were still doing videos with him under the guise that these are for Victoria's Secret. And despite the fact that people in this community started sharing these articles, it didn't seem to slow Anthony down any. And that's when things get really, really weird. Now, he had also accused me. He's like, why are you doing this? Why don't you like me? Why do you want to get me in trouble? I said, it's not that I don't like you, Anthony, but quite frankly, I don't fucking like you, Anthony. But I didn't do it because I didn't like him. I did it because I was concerned what the end goal was of all these photos, because this is the point when he started advertising his own modeling agency and started hosting casting calls. And this terrified me because I knew he wasn't a modeling agent. I knew he didn't have a legit building. And he has just, these weird contracts. He's doing these casting calls. I'm looking at the address, and it's just a random building, garage in Ferndale, Michigan. And I'm starting to get very concerned about the content of the videos he's pushing out, because they're getting weirder and weirder and weirder. He just seemed to kind of spiral into this crazy behavior and still not blacklisted.
Women out there that have heard negative things about the Latin Mass Society and Anthony Perlas. They're all lies.
And he's having models put out videos about Seroptics modeling agency is the best, and Anthony is wonderful and pure of heart. And it started to get really cult-like, really weird. Not Not what you would expect from anything. And then he starts putting out statements that can only be described as Nazi propaganda. And this is the point. This and only this point is when people start paying attention. Because now he's posting videos with guns. He is talking about Hitler. He is posting videos about the apocalypse. He had like a full-on mental break online. And that's when people are like, oh yeah, I guess he must have been weird. So this guy has his full mental break, and believe me, I'm going to insert it all because I just can't even describe it without showing what he was saying. And then a news story comes out, and I am going to embed that here somewhere. May have to edit some off. And so finally, after around 2 years, this guy has a news story basically about all the stuff that I had been talking about and trying to alert to people's attention for several years, while getting shot down about it and told, I'm discriminating. Okay, great. They're finally on to him. Then, I don't know what I can say about the next part of the story, what is confidential and what is not. Let's just say an agency contacted me because they were concerned about Anthony and they had seen information that I had posted online. Shortly after that, Anthony left the state of Michigan. He left the state and he left his IDs behind. And that is where I thought that this story was going to end.
Disgusted and afraid. Well, feel like they're scared because not only is this guy sending them creepy messages, they're worried the pictures he's taken of them could wind up on his weird web pages. This is a story about modeling and madness.
I look at his pictures more and more, and they have quotes over them, and they'll say the weirdest things.
A story about catwalks and Catholicism.
How can you have all this Nazi stuff and this hate stuff and reference Jesus? He would like to see women dressed in religious clothing.
A story of fashion and fascism and fear.
So he hired a private investigator to look into my family.
I worry that he's going to lash out more than just making posts on Facebook.
His name is Anthony Perlas. He's a photographer who claims to have a studio in Ferndale. His company is called Seroptics Models.
He contacted me to join his modeling agency.
I first heard of Anthony Perlas more than a year ago. Madeline, a 20-year-old model, contacted me. Madeline had agreed to do a non-paying test shoot with Anthony Perlas, but after a closer look at his photos, determined he was
Trying to get his views across using young women.
His views appeared religious. He represented himself as running something called the Latin Mass Society. Latin Mass is a very traditional Catholic church service, but there's nothing traditional about these photos. Madeline's mother Deb suspected models wanting work for their portfolios would wind up with Anthony
Putting white veils on them and taking pictures.
And as a mom, you thought that's a little fetishy weird?
Fetishy, creepy, yeah.
I began watching Perlas. His Ferndale studio turned out to be this storage barn at his supposed business address, a house. Models like Sarah actually worked with him there.
He started asking me about my personal life, about if I had a boyfriend or not, and I thought that was a little inappropriate.
But he seemed like a harmless, eccentric guy.
I thought he was a little weird, kind of squirrely.
Katie worked with Anthony on a shoot in Ohio. As was Perlas' style, it was a trade deal. She got the nude she wanted for her portfolio, and Anthony got his photos of her wearing veils. Then Katie says he wanted her to shoot a video like this, extolling the virtues of Anthony Perlas and his Latin Mass Society. Katie declined, but plenty of other models have it.
A lot of women out there that have heard negative things about the Latin Mass Society and Anthony Perlas. They're all lies.
Perlas' Latin Mass Society was soon being bashed by religious groups online. Then things got worse. Sarah says Perlas suggested a shoot she found repulsive.
We should do a Nazi shoot, have like concentration camps, and like do something crazy. And I'm like, at first I thought maybe he's kidding.
What did he seem like in the interview?
Weird.
Weird because of his odd supposed job offer for alternative model Xtina.
He starts saying that he'd get me a Victoria's Secret.
Xtina was amused.
I have over 55 plus tattoos. Have you ever seen a Victoria's Secret model covered from head to toe in tattoos?
Her interview ended with Perlas plumbing a ride to his home. A home he was soon evicted from, although no one would know that. His websites still claim it's his studio. And Perlas went on the attack, sending threatening messages to local models for seemingly no reason. He posted anti-Semitic messages on the Facebook page of a young Jewish model who was visiting Israel. Perlas began posting photos of Adolf Hitler on his own Facebook pages. And to further scare his enemies, he put photos of himself at a gun range saying, murder equals evil, killing equals good. Now calling himself Supreme Leader Anthony Tridentine, Perlas has been spreading his hateful messages to all in the modeling community.
Do you think that I will actually make outrageous posts if it was going to harm my business? It's not even stretching it. I have calculated every action and words I've spoken. I am winning victoriously.
And when models who were once his friends offer concern, he retaliates. I went to confront Anthony Perlas, but he's gone, posting his hate for Michigan models from an unknown location. Certainly, I am a modern-day progressive who protects the Constitution. Think Nazi Germany, except Nazi America.
If that was the end of the story, I wouldn't be making this video though. Now it is 2020, several years have gone by, and I thought maybe I'd heard the last from Anthony Perlas. No. I got a message from somebody, and I'm not going to give too much information about them because that's none of anybody's business. But he's back. He's back. He's in California. He's in the San Diego and greater Los Angeles area. And now he's a fitness coach, a bodybuilder, supposedly an adult entertainer, which whatever. It's whatever. And he's working with all these local businesses doing videography. And he's opening casting calls again. And he's opening his modeling agency again. And this, to me, again, is a huge red flag. He is not a modeling agency. He does not work for Victoria's Secret. He does not work for Vogue. I don't know about the bodybuilding world, to be perfectly honest. It does seem like he has some job training people one-on-one, women, terrifying. And he's also doing steroids live on his new Instagram. And despite the fact that this has been brought up by these coaches who are advertising them to their clients, it's brought up to these health bars that are having him do commercials, letting him with their customers. It has been brought up to other people in his state that need to know about his whereabouts. And as of today, nothing has been done because people don't want to listen again. Done nothing but try and warn people about this guy for years. And it seems like there's a lot of evidence on the internet now if you have his real name. There's several news articles. There's a news video. There's all these screenshots. There's all this evidence that I've posted publicly. And it's not hard to find. And I think that if you find a video or an article, or if somebody just tells you, hey, this person is trying to get younger women alone in a vacant building, wouldn't you look into it? Wouldn't you read the screenshots, and wouldn't you, do something? All this evidence is out here, and people have chosen to ignore it, and I'm not going to ignore it because I have all this information, and I'm going to put it out there because even if just one person watches this video or passes it along and realizes that it's not safe to work with him, not safe to be around him, then my job here is done. My whole point in doing this is to warn people. This man is dangerous. Nobody moves from state to state and changes their name because they're a good person with good intentions. This man is unstable. He's proven it time and time and time and time again. And now it's time to do something about it. So if you're in the fitness community, if you're in a fitness model, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a gym coach for these big bodybuilder competitions, if you are a videographer, if you're someone who's worked with him, spread the word. Protect people. We have a lot of conversations about deplatforming predators and believing women, and that's great. But it kind of seems like if it's not a celebrity or if it's not a high profile person, it's kind of like, oh, well, he seems like a nice guy. He's not a nice guy. He is a dangerous guy. And if you are in the area that he is working within, do not be alone with this person. His intentions are not good. That's really all I'm going to say about it. I know it's a crazy story. This isn't somebody who should have access to young women or young men or anybody. He's dangerous. And it's time to put it out there. It's time to put it all out there. And we'll see what happens. And if you're watching this, Anthony, yes, I still don't like you. And I am going to do everything in my power to make sure that you don't victimize anybody, that you don't do anything bad to anybody if I can help it. Thank you.